Forum. Let's continue the conversation with former foreign correspondent James Morrison, a journalist in good standing for over 40 years, and Geoffrey G. Nathan, a man who has defended U.S. soldiers accused of international war crimes. Gentlemen, again, we thank you so much for staying with us through this segment of America's Forum. It's an interesting dynamic here at work, both institutionally and politically. Secretary of State John Kerry requested a delay to releasing the report. The White House yesterday in the press briefing, Josh Earnest was all for it. James, as a veteran observer, why the rush to release it this morning?
JD, that is something I've been trying to figure out ever since we heard reports of this was going to come out. It completely baffles me. We know all about the techniques that were used. There have been many, many reports, news stories over the past several years about this. I think it's just because the Democrats have spent $40 million and spent 3 years or whatever it has been doing this, and they feel they've got to get it out before the Senate changes and Republicans take over. I think I keep hearing that there's a political motivation for this. Honestly, I can't figure out where the political advantage is for the Democrats. Had they released this before the election, perhaps there might have been something there. But it seems just purely vindictive and destructive, and another attempt to blame George Bush, I suppose. I don't know how much longer you can continue to blame Bush, but honestly, it baffles me. I don't understand it.
Fair enough. Geoffrey, let me turn to you on matters of the law as you Skype in this morning from Boston. Now, we assume that names and identities are going to be redacted. However, there has been a lot of comment, at least anonymously, from the Democrats on the Senate Intelligence Committee. Members of Congress, and I know as a recovering member of Congress, I'm not a lawyer, but quite often those of us who have served in the House and the Senate look to the debate and speech clause as giving us absolute immunity to say what we want to say on the floor of either the House or the Senate. It's kind of like the legislative form of executive privilege. In terms of staffers, does that debate and speech clause, that the immunity that members of Congress and members of the Senate enjoy, does that likewise extend to their staffers?
That would be a question for a prosecutor to answer. My answer would be more likely than not. I do have to say that anyone who's stupid enough to release the names of individuals who are serving their country and implementing executive orders to extract information out of detainees, and then to go ahead and publish their names would be one of the most stupid acts that I can fathom. And for that reason, it is very common for documents of this nature to be, say, filed under seal. And as a criminal defense attorney, that's what I would like to have seen in regards to this particular report. That appears to be what actually Senator Kerry wanted, and I think to just protect the staffers, to protect the institutions that are being questioned in regards to this report, the best thing to do would be to say we are filing a report, but we're doing it under seal. No one wants to look backwards in this regard and talk about what happened years ago. From a defense perspective,
this becomes the point, though, doesn't it, Geoffrey? Because even if names are not announced, it's as if we're attempting to criminalize history, is it not?
Oh, that's exactly why a report like this, in my opinion, should not be released at all.
Fair enough. Final 30 seconds to you, James Morrison. Your background as a foreign correspondent. You talked about the Middle East being the hot spot. There's one note from Chuck Hagel. He's saying, as outgoing defense secretary, plans to leave 1,000 extra troops in Afghanistan. Arguably, was that in anticipation of the release of this report?
It could be. It could well be, because they have known this report was going to come out for some time. And so this is highly possible that this is a reaction to that. And it does make sense to do it for that reason. And so, yes, I would say that's probably a reaction to this report.
Well, gentlemen, we will see what transpires later this morning. To attorney Geoffrey Nathan in Boston and journalist James Morrison in Washington, D.C. Gentlemen, you have our thanks. and we appreciate your insights. And America's Forum continues on Newsmax TV following this time out.